Hello, and welcome to another of Adam's Reviews. Today I'll be reviewing the door club. So what is a door club? It's a device that goes in front of your door that prevents people from being able to just easily kick open your door. And if you search on YouTube, you'll see plenty of videos of demonstrations of the product where there's a door that's before and after with a door club, and it's pretty amazing what this thing can do. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this guy up and we'll take a look at what's inside the packaging. This is the actual door stop thing that goes into the hole that's in front of the door that prevents the door from opening. You can see this guy here. This is the hanger that you mount on the back of the door, and that just is there simply to hold the door stop in place when it's not in use. So that way it's just not laying around getting kicked by people. This is the anchor piece that you drill the hole for in the floor. You drop that guy in and it sits in front of the door, and when you drop this piece in, this is what prevents the door from opening. And since this is a nice solid piece of metal that's in the floor, that really reinforced the heck out of this thing. Even if you have a wooden floor, this will reinforce the heck out of it, so that way it can't be easily kicked open. To add to the support for the floor, you can also use this piece here if you've got a wooden floor, and I would recommend it. That's what I did on my other doors, is that when you drill out the hole for this piece, you also have 4 holes for this guy that you drill out and place on the floor, and then this simply slips into that. So now not only do you have this in the floor, but you've got 4 other anchor points that are in there. So you've got a really solid construction there to prevent someone from kicking that door open. And then there's this plate here, and this gets screwed on to the door itself, and that also helps to reinforce the door, so that way this part right here rests up against it. So they say that it installs in minutes, but really that is completely dependent on your skill level, your familiarity with the product, and then the material that you're working with. Like, I can guarantee you that it won't install in minutes for me with this particular project, because this particular project, again, I have to drill out a concrete floor, so it's not going to install in minutes, despite what they say, unless they mean 59 minutes. So I guess you could argue that I might be able to do this in under an hour, but I guess we'll find out. So to start off with, what you have to do is you have to find the center of the door. And that's what I'm going to do right now. I have no idea actually how wide my door is, so let's find out. My door is about 30 inches, so 15 is where I want to be. And you're supposed to measure out 2 inches from the door. Now, this is an important thing that you have to take note of, is that you don't want to measure out from the actual door scraper part of the door down here. If you measure out from this, if your door scraper comes out a little bit further than the door, then your measurement for where the hole is supposed to be is going to be off. So make sure that you measure from the actual door itself. I made this mistake upstairs on one of my installs, and I was off by about 1/2 inch, and that gives a little bit of a wiggle room between the door and the door club, and I did not want that, because any sort of leeway on the with the space between the door stop and the door can give somebody a little bit more force. Now, more than likely, they probably still couldn't get the door open even if I left it as it was. But I just like the whole concept of having everything nice and tight and secure. So I wound up having to cut down a piece of plywood to mount behind the kick plate, or whatever the heck you want to call this piece right here. So I wound up cutting it to the same size as this and mounting it out a little bit, so that way when I went ahead and put the door club in there, it was nice and tight up against the door. So don't make that same mistake. When I did it to the other side of my door, I didn't repeat that mistake, and I'm not going to make that mistake here. So find the center of the door, measure out by 2 inches from the door itself, not from the little piece of the door jamb down here, and then you go ahead and drill your hole. So there's my 15-inch mark, and I want to place it up against the door and come out to 2 inches, which is right here. Okay, so for this one, the instructions say that I have to drill the 1/4 inch hole in the concrete to a depth of 2 3/4 inches. Alright, so now I got my pilot hole drilled. Now I get to go to the real deal. It's this big, massive 3/4 inch masonry bit. my concrete has lots of rocks in it. I'm like fighting against 2 rocks that I can see right there in that hole. Hey everybody, so it's the next day, and the reason why it's the next day is that I ran into trouble. So you probably recall me talking about how sometimes, you know, they say that it only takes minutes, right? Well, this is a prime example of how things can go from supposedly only taking minutes to taking hours or even longer. So what wound up happening is that the location that I decided to drill actually had a piece of rebar that was running right here. What the hell, just for the heck of it, let's just measure it just to make sure, because otherwise it's off like a lot. That'll drive me crazy. So I've got 1.5 inches there, and yeah, about 1.5 inches there. So that's good. So then you can just take your Sharpie, mark your holes. Be careful, you don't want to go all the way through the door, that would be silly. Otherwise, I was saying earlier, you'd wind up kicking it everywhere. Alright. Looks about right. There we go. Took our 2 screws.
Oh, you're busy. I brought you food.
My wife apparently brought me food. Gotta like that. So you do things around the house, you get rewarded. Us men are like animals. We do our tricks and then we get our food. There we go. That is the door club installation. Took a hell of a lot longer than, you know, anticipated and originally estimated. And that's not really the fault of the company, although I do gotta say, it would be a lot better if they were a little bit more tolerant on their, or allow for a little bit more tolerance on what they claim is the installation time, because it completely depends on the scenario. Like, you know, like what happened with me. What if you drill into your concrete and hit a piece of rebar and have to do all kinds of crazy stuff? I mean, it takes way longer than just minutes. Clean this up real quick. And then when you want to go ahead and secure your door, you turn it the other way, drop it down inside the post, and there you go. That thing is in there tight. Yeah, you can see this. The door is going to go absolutely no freaking where. It's in place. And I think that's going to wrap it up. I covered everything that I think I can cover with the door club. And hopefully you guys got some good information out of that, learned some lessons, and understand that, you know, just because a package says it installs in minutes doesn't always necessarily mean that it installs in minutes. And I'll see you guys next time on Adam's Reviews.